With a good turnout at today's rally, Mayor Stephanie Miner says it's a good sign of the city going against gun violence.
It shows that we will not be silent in the face of this epidemic that's hitting different neighborhoods in different parts of our country.
And now we have Edward McFarland with an anti-gun rally advocate.
Thanks, Todd. With me here today, I have Mr. Clifford Ryan, who is a strong advocate against gun violence here in Syracuse. Mr. Ryan, thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
And today, earlier this morning, you were out there, for the rally against anti-gun violence, where Ms. Stephanie Miner was able to speak, as well as other victims. I know you personally have been an advocate against gun violence since 1999. So can you just talk about what triggered you to be able to be against this?
Yes, I've always been against it, pretty much all my life. But in July 22nd of 1999, I had a son shot and killed on Cannon and Newell Street in Syracuse, New York. And that kind of was the official beginning of my advocacy against gun violence in the city. From that, there's been about 16 years off and on that I've been supporting the community as far as fighting against gun violence and reaching out to the youth. Pretty much that was the focal point and the starting point for my advocacy against gun violence.
Yes, sir. I know you told me earlier you had a brief moment where it was too much to take in being around Syracuse at a specific time, considering all the gun violence and killing that was going on. But you had a family member who actually stayed in your ear and was able to draw you back to the community and the city and, further push your advocacy. So can you talk about that? What brought you back?
What happened was I had got a little bit frustrated at the system and the way things were going as far as the city was concerned, as far as combating it. So I decided to take a break and I moved to Binghamton, New York, and I was there for about 4.5 years. But I was still actively participating in the anti-gun violence, via the social media and through me traveling back and forth through Syracuse, New York from Binghamton. Pretty much my family encouraged me to come back to Syracuse and start all over again. And from that, I came back and returned to Syracuse in June of last year, 2015. And then right after that, in July, is when I began, the OGs Against Violence.
Yes, sir. Bringing up OGs Against Gun Violence. I know you said you guys were actually able to have 27 saves, as you like to call it, within being able to actually prevent something happening with the gun.
Yes.
So can you just talk about the process and how you find yourself in these positions to be able to make, saves like that?
Okay. The way the movement works is it's really important that people understand. And in order to understand it, you have to get out there and you have to walk and you have to reach out to these kids. So upon one day I'm walking down the street, at any given time, you might have a young man that might reach out to you for advice or counseling in that regard, as opposed to just going and doing the violence. You might have a young man see you out there walking and reach out to you. So one of the stories that I wanted to share with you is a story that I've been telling, everybody that I've talked to in that regard, is an incident where I was standing where my son was killed at. And a young man had just had some problems at what we call the Valley Field Days, in which he either got jumped or some individuals were going to jump him. From that, he was going back to retaliate, and he had a firearm, and he was going to go back and deal with these individuals, shoot these individuals. And his exact words was, "I'm glad that I saw you out here, because I was going to go back and I was going to shoot up the entire Valley Field Days." So I was able to talk with that young man for a small period of time and stop him from going to do that by reaching out to him as an older man to a younger man, giving him knowledge and pointing out the ramifications and literally talking him out of it. I pretty much almost cried with this young man to beg him not to go do that violence. It worked. And that was the beginning of the 27 individuals that I was able to talk out of doing the violence. And that's very important. When you can talk somebody out of not doing violence, that's a life saved, if you will. So I'm at 27 lives saved from going to do the violence, and 27 lives saved from the victims who were going to be the victims of that violence.
Yes, sir. Obviously, the name OG coming from, you know, someone who actually has experience in, you know, being out in the street. So can you just talk about, with those hands-on experiences that you have, for people who may not necessarily be in your position, how can people go about helping others and saving other lives against gun violence, you know, even though they may not necessarily be around you? What do you feel like needs to take place in our community to help everyone as a whole?
The very first thing we need to do is reach out to the individuals that are doing the violence. That's the very first thing we need to do, which is what OGs Against Violence does. The term OG is a term of respect that the young people call the older generation of people in the community. So I would encourage us to reach out to those young people first. And secondly, as a community, we have to unite with each other. The division within the community became a part of that problem. So when you have a community who's divided and who has their own agendas separately, that adds to the problem. So what I wanted to do with OGs Against Violence, I wanted to unite the entire community and rally the entire community together. And I was able to do that by traveling to all 4 sides of town. In other words, reaching out to every single organization that's in this city, encouraging them to unite with each other, and encouraging the youth as well to stop doing violence against each other and reach out to each other in that regard. Because once we get the young people to stop killing each other, that everything else is going to fall in place. Like a lot of businesses left the area because of the ramifications of the violence. So once we can get them to stop doing the violence, then we can get, you know, everything back in place with the community as far as that's concerned.
Yes, sir. Speaking of the community, you did a great job by having everyone out today for the rally and having Mayor Stephanie Miner acknowledge that this June being Anti-Gun Awareness Month.
Yes.
So how do you feel like today the rally went, and where do you see it going from today, from this morning?
All right. I think the rally went really good. Could have been a little bit more notice. A lot of people didn't know about the rally, so it was kind of a last-minute thing. But considering that right there, I think the rally went really good. The mayor did a good job in relating that message. We had the Mothers Against Gun Violence advocate, Miss Helen Hudson. She was there and she spoke, and we had a young man who was a victim of the violence speak as well. His name is Eddie Mitchell Jr., and he has an organization called Team Angel, and he spoke as well. So overall, it still was a good turnout, even though a lot of people didn't know about it. And what they plan on doing is they plan on doing another rally at Southwest Center, and they're gonna plan it out a little bit better.
Yes, sir. Before we get out of here, I know most definitely you want to be able to show off your
Yes.
sign and continue pushing for violence against guns.
Yes.
And so with that, you know, give the people your information.
It's OGs Against Gun Violence on Facebook, also Clifford Ryan on Facebook, and my email address is cliffordryan72@yahoo.com. You can contact us for supporting your organizations and your events and rallies, and that's where you can get all the information that you need as far as OGs Against Violence is concerned. And I thank the community for your support, Syracuse University as well.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you,
Greatly
sir.
appreciate
Yes,
you.
sir.
Back to you guys.